In this moment, as these words reach you, a breath has just entered and left your body that you did not notice at all. It lived and died without you. Something in you moved, expanded, contracted, exchanged gases with the air, and you were not there. Another breath, the same. You speak of my life, yet most of the movements that make up this life proceed without your presence, like a house in which the owner has long ago abandoned the rooms, leaving the furniture to decay in silence. Look at this fact. You think that right now you are listening, deciding, understanding, but I tell you, you are not. You are being listened, you are being thought, you are being moved. Opinions speak through you, habits gesture through you, tensions arrange your posture. You call this I, a very generous word for so much mechanical dust. Do not believe me. Verify it. As you hear this sentence, bring all your attention to the sensations in your right hand. Not the idea of your hand, but the tingling, weight, temperature, pressure inside the skin. At the same time, continue to hear the words. Do both. For a few seconds, you create a small flame of presence. You are here in two directions at once, toward the sound and toward yourself. Already it is fading, is it not? Already you are back in the stream of automatic listening, attention stolen by associations. You live as if you were awake. You are born, you go to school, you work, you love, you suffer, you age, you die. You call this a life. Yet almost all of it passes in a condition I call waking sleep. Eyes open, body upright, mouth speaking, and inside a drifting fog, a dream that thinks it is reality. You have walked down streets and arrived at your destination with no memory of the journey. You have nodded while others spoke, hearing nothing. You have eaten without tasting, driven without seeing, promised without meaning. This is not a personal insult. It is the general condition of humanity. Imagine a coachman asleep on his own carriage. The horses pull in one direction, the cart is loaded by strangers going in another, and the reins drag uselessly in the mud. From time to time, the coachman mumbles, "I decide where we go," and then snores again. This coachman is your so-called I. Your body is the horses, your acquired personality is the cart, and passing influences, advertisements, fears, fashions, memories are the strangers tossing in luggage. You feel that you are directing it all. You are not. Right now, notice how you are sitting or lying. Did you decide this posture, or did it simply happen? Sense the weight of your body on the chair or bed. Feel the points of contact, the back, the thighs, the feet, the head. Do not change anything, only see. Next, notice your face. Is there tension around the eyes, the forehead, the jaw? Perhaps your mouth is slightly tightened, your tongue pressed unconsciously against the palate. Again, change nothing. Simply shine the light of attention there. For these moments, something in you is awake to the machine. This is the first requirement, ruthless self-observation, not analysis, not interpretation. Guilt is noisy and self-centered. How terrible I am, how awful I feel. Remorse of conscience is quiet and objective. This is what I have been, this is what I have done. No drama, just a painful clarity. Right now, if you are willing, make a small inner experiment. Bring to mind a situation from recently in which you were not sincere, not necessarily a dramatic lie, perhaps just a time when you said yes while meaning no, or agreed to something in order to avoid discomfort, or pretended to care when you did not. Do not choose the worst thing. Choose something small but real. Now, as you recall it, sense your body, the face, the throat, the chest, the belly. See if any discomfort appears. Stay with the sensations. Do not explain, do not justify, do not condemn. Just hold the picture of your behavior and the feeling in the body at the same time. If you remain long enough, you may feel a kind of inner wince, a shame that is not about reputation, but about truth. This is a faint echo of conscience. It does not say you are worthless. It says you are living below what is possible for you. It hurts because it is true. If you run from it into distraction, fantasy, blame, you put another layer of sleep over your eyes. If you stay with it, letting the discomfort be, Something in you is purified, as if a hidden wound were being cleaned. Feel now the impulse to turn away from this. Notice how quickly the mind wants to say, everyone does this, or I had a good reason, or it's not so bad. Notice how feeling wants to drown the discomfort in self-pity or anger. Notice how the body wants to fidget, adjust, move away. This resistance is valuable to observe. Where there is resistance of this kind, there is often the threshold of real work. Real conscience does not come to crush you, it comes to awaken you, but it cannot work in a noisy, cluttered house. That is why the harmonization of centers is necessary. When thought, feeling, and body are somewhat aligned in simple presence, a space opens in which conscience can be heard. That voice may ask you to repair something, to speak a truth you have avoided, to cease a habitual betrayal, to accept a limit. It will never flatter your vanity, and it will never command you to despise yourself. Vanity and self-hatred are both forms of sleep. Try another small shock. Bring your attention now to the area around your heart, not as an image, but as sensation, inner chest, ribs, upper back. Breathe gently, without forcing. Into this area, recall someone you have hurt, perhaps through neglect, indifference, or harshness. Do not dramatize, just see the fact. Sense at the same time your whole body, especially your feet and hands, so you do not drown in emotion. Hold the image, the bodily sensation, and the sound of these words together. If a quiet sorrow arises, let it be. If nothing arises, see that too. Both are information. In such experiments, you are not seeking to create emotions, but to allow the ones already there, buried, frozen, denied, to be seen by a more conscious part of you. This is part of inner hygiene. The emotional center is often clogged with old impressions that you have never digested. When conscience touches them, they may melt in the form of remorse, grief, or tenderness. If you receive this without self-indulgence, energy is freed for higher work. Now we must touch on a principle that your ordinary self resists: voluntary suffering. You suffer already, of course, but mostly without choice and without benefit. You suffer from illness, from disappointment, from the loss of people and opportunities, from boredom, from anxiety, from humiliation. Most of this suffering makes you more closed, more bitter, more mechanical. You tense against it, complain about it, intoxicate yourself to forget it. This is passive suffering. It leads nowhere. Voluntary suffering is different. It is the conscious acceptance of inner friction for the sake of growth. It is when you see a mechanical reaction rising, anger, self-pity, laziness, vanity, and instead of obeying it blindly, you hold it in awareness. You refrain from expressing it outwardly or indulging it inwardly, and you bear the discomfort. This bearing, this decision to not escape immediately, is a form of inner work that produces real change. Imagine you have the impulse to justify yourself in an argument. Every fiber wants to defend your image, to prove you are right. Instead, for once, you remain outwardly quiet. Inwardly, you watch the storm, the rising heat, the sentences forming in your head, the tightening in the chest and throat. You do not agree with the false accusations, perhaps, but you do not rush to correct them. You will feel as if you are being burned alive. That burning is voluntary suffering. If you submit to it consciously, without hatred, a certain pride is weakened. Something rigid in you becomes more flexible. The energy that would have gone into self-defense is conserved and can feed a finer state. Right now, let us taste a very small form of this. Sit as you are and choose one tiny discom, fort in your present posture, perhaps a slight tension in the leg or an itch on the face or an urge to adjust your back. Normally, you would immediately move to relieve it. For the next short period, decide inwardly, I will not change this. I will observe it. Bring your attention to the discomfort. Feel its borders, its texture, its rhythm. At the same time, remain aware of your general body and the sound of these words. When the impulse to move arises, see it, Do not obey, not yet, stay. You will discover that the itch or tension is not a simple thing. It has layers. There is the physical sensation, and there is the story about it. I hate this. This is unnecessary. Why am I doing this? There is the emotion about it, irritation, impatience. There is the movement preparing in the muscles to shift posture. By not acting immediately, by suffering it voluntarily for a while, you bring all of this into light. You also learn that the sensation, while unpleasant, is not unbearable. It rises, falls, changes. In bearing it, you grow stronger. Do not torture yourself. Voluntary suffering is not masochism. It is not seeking pain for its own sake. It is using unavoidable friction, the clash between your mechanical tendencies and your conscious intention, as material for transformation. If you invent bizarre disciplines just to prove something, you remain in vanity. But when life itself presents you with situations that contradict your preferences, you can use them. For example, you may have to wait in a line. Automatically, you would reach for your phone, grumble internally, or drift into fantasy. Instead, you decide, Paul, for these few minutes, I will not escape. You sense your body, observe your thoughts and feelings, and practice divided attention, outward to the environment, inward to yourself. The boredom and restlessness are your voluntary suffering. You let them burn. In exchange, you obtain a stronger, more stable attention. There is a great law: nothing essential grows in comfort. Comfort has its place. The body needs rest. The nervous system needs relaxation. But inner development requires that you step again and again into the zone where your habits are challenged. You must be willing to be inwardly uncomfortable, to see your pettiness, your cowardice, your self-importance without fleeing into distraction. You must be willing to act against your likes and dislikes when conscience calls for it. Think of a muscle. If you never ask it to do more than it finds easy, it becomes weak. If you overload it violently, it tears. With intelligent, gradual resistance, it grows stronger. The same with your capacity for presence. Voluntary suffering is this intelligent resistance. You do not crush yourself, you stretch yourself. Take a moment now to notice one small area where you habitually escape discomfort. Perhaps you avoid silence with constant noise. Perhaps you avoid honest conversations with flattery or jokes. Perhaps you avoid inner emptiness with food or stimulation. Just see one example. Do not promise to chaz. Your whole life. Decide only this. The next time this specific pattern appears, you will endure a few seconds of it consciously instead of running. You will suffer the urge without obeying immediately, and in that suffering, you will watch. In doing this, you perform conscious labor, another key principle. Conscious labor is any intentionally undertaken effort to be present, especially when the machine resists. Listening with divided attention is conscious labor. Restraining a mechanical expression while observing it is conscious labor. Remembering yourself while doing a familiar task is conscious labor. It uses energy differently from automatic activity. It accumulates something finer in you, a substance that can support higher states. Your ordinary labors, earning money, performing duties, maintaining social roles, are mostly unconscious. They must be done, but they do not by themselves produce awakening. When you add presence to them, they become materials for the work. Washing dishes, walking, typing, speaking on the phone, all can be transformed into conscious labors if you bring divided attention and impartial observation. For a few moments now, turn your attention to a simple ongoing movement in your body, perhaps the slight motion of the fingers, the micro adjustments in the spine, the pulse you can feel in your hands or head. Observe it without interfering. At the same time, attend to your breath, then add awareness of the sounds around you. This is a small conscious labor to hold multiple impressions intentionally. Feel the effort. It is not dramatic, but it costs something. That cost is in your favor. There will be times when this work feels dry, futile, even absurd. You will say, why am I noticing my hand and my breath while listening to some voice? What is the point? Good. See that voice. It does not want to give up the old comfort of total identification. It wants spiritual work to be glamorous, full of visions and ecstasies. But real awakening begins with things as simple and as difficult as not scratching an itch, not justifying yourself, staying present while you wash a cup. If you persist, the quality of your suffering changes. You still feel pain, disappointment, conflict, but you no longer experience them only as enemies. You begin to sense that each friction can be used. When you are misunderstood, you can work with the hurt. When you are afraid, you can work with the trembling. When you are tempted, you can work with the pull, not by suppressing, not by indulging, but by standing in between, seeing. Right now, feel where in your body there is the strongest sensation, perhaps the chest, the throat, the face, the belly. Let your attention sink there. At the same time, listen to these words, and at the same time, quietly admit to yourself one difficult truth about your life that you usually avoid. Do not explain it. Simply state it inwardly. I am wasting time, or I live in fear, or I betray my own seeing, whatever is true for you. Hold the sensation, the hearing, and this truth together. This is voluntary suffering. It is also the beginning of freedom. When you begin to see yourself with this new clarity, even in small flashes, the body becomes an instrument for finer impressions. Your movements, those ordinary, unnoticed gestures, are not the weak, trivial things you imagine. They are precise signatures of your inner state. Every gesture reveals the truth of your being. The way you lift your hand, the way your shoulders collapse or brace, the way your eyes rest or dart. These are written statements. They expose the level of your consciousness far more honestly than your thoughts or beliefs. There is a reason sacred movements exist in real schools. They are not dances. They are diagrams, cosmic mathematics inscribed into flesh. Each posture, each coordinated gesture, each unexpected rhythm, each intentional turn is a key. When performed with full attention, they unify the three centers, forcing harmony where habit divides. They require simultaneous awareness of the body's form, the feeling tone of the moment, and the meaning behind the gesture. This is why the ordinary ego hates them. They cannot be faked. They demand presence. Right now, try a microscopic taste. Sit or stand as you are and let one arm rise slowly, as though moving through thick water. Do not imagine the movement. Feel it from the inside. Sense the shoulder, the upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, the wrist, the hand. Let the hand rise only a few centimeters. But in that small ascent, try to sense every millimeter. At the same time, watch your emotional center, impatience, self-consciousness, curiosity, resistance. And at the same time, listen to these words. 3 streams, 1 gesture. If you truly attempted this, even for a few seconds, you felt the intensity required. The body cannot lie in such moments. You will sense where attention collapses, where the body rushes ahead, where emotion tenses. You will meet friction. That friction is the work. The slow, conscious movement becomes a vessel. It gathers scattered attention into one stable point. Now let the hand return slowly with the same precision. Feel the descent. Feel the impulse to hurry, to relax back into sleep. Resist it gently, not with force, but with intention. This is the smallest seed of sacred movement, using the body as a laboratory for awakening. You need not perform great cosmic dances. Begin here with conscious gesture. Let every mundane movement, reaching for a cup, turning a doorknob, sitting down, become a chance to inscribe presence into the body. There is a secret. The body remembers what the mind forgets. If you repeatedly make small, precise, conscious movements, the body begins to hold traces of attention. Later, in moments of difficulty, these traces can help you return to yourself. This is why work insists that the body not be left out. A purely intellectual spirituality collapses at the first gust of emotion. A purely emotional spirituality collapses at the first demand for discipline. A purely physical spirituality collapses at the first challenge to comfort. But coordinated conscience. How's movement builds a stable foundation for something higher? Try one more brief shock. Without changing your posture dramatically, adjust your spine just enough to lengthen it slightly upward, as though you made room between the vertebrae. Do it slowly, consciously, feel the shift. Next, Widen the collarbones by 1 degree, a tiny opening. Again, feel it. Now let the face soften, just enough to release unnecessary tension around the eyes and jaw. Then, without losing any of this awareness, imagine that the whole body is one single piece of vibrating sensation, not imagining the vibration, feeling the unity. If for a moment you sensed a subtle collectedness, then you have touched the beginning of inner form. Sacred movements are nothing more than the cultivation of such form again and again until presence becomes a natural posture. In time, you will discover that true movement is not what you do with the body. It is how you use attention while the body moves. And when attention, emotion, and physical form align, something in you becomes receptive to finer impressions. That receptivity cannot be described. It must be earned. Now we must speak of aim, not a wish, not a plan, not a fantasy, but aim, a direction of being. Without aim, all inner efforts dissipate like water in sand. You may practice self-observation for a week, remember yourself for a day, restrain a mechanical reaction for an hour. But without aim, these moments do not build upon each other. They remain isolated attempts, easily forgotten. Aim is not chosen by the personality. Personality wants comfort, admiration, safety, success. Essence, the quiet, undeveloped part of you, wants truth, wants being, wants awakening. Aim must arise from essence. How do you know the difference? When an aim costs nothing, it is from personality. When an aim requires the sacrifice of automatic tendencies, it is from essence. Ask yourself quietly now, what do I truly want from my life? Not the social answer, not the convenient answer, not the frightened answer. What do you want such that if you do not pursue it, something in you will die untouched? Hold this question without rushing to answer. Let it burn gently. Even the discomfort is useful. You do not need a perfect aim today, only a direction. Perhaps your aim is to live one conscious breath each hour. Perhaps it is to no longer lie to yourself in small ways. Perhaps it is to see your chief feature, the dominant mechanical habit that sabotages all efforts. For some, the chief feature is vanity. For others, fear. For others, laziness. For others, self-importance. Discovering this is part of aim. For what good is it to navigate a ship without knowing where the leak is? Right now, look honestly. What is the one habitual reaction in you that repeats endlessly, always leading you back to sleep? Do you escape difficulty? Do you chase approval? Do you collapse into fear? Do you attack before being attacked? Do you soften the truth to avoid discomfort? See it without judgment. Say inwardly, yes, that is my prison door. Not to hate yourself, self-hatred is another prison, but to know where the work must be done. Aim is your compass. Chief feature is the storm. Without the compass, you drift. Without the storm, there is no strengthening. The work uses both. There comes a moment in the search when you begin to feel the difference between personality and essence. Personality is loud, dramatic, and fragile. Essence is quiet, steady, and sincere. Personality lives by imitation, wanting to be liked, wanting to avoid shame, wanting to appear wise or spiritual. Essence lives by direct experience. It does not care about appearances. It cares about truth, even when truth is uncomfortable. Feel now the difference in yourself. Notice a part of you listening that wants to do this right, to succeed, to feel special. That is personality. Notice another part, quieter, deeper, that simply hears the words and responds with a sober, wordless recognition. That is essence. If you can feel even a hint of that difference, you already stand on the threshold. Essence grows slowly like a tree. Personality grows quickly like a vine climbing the tree, sometimes choking it. The work is the slow nourishment of essence and the gradual re-education of personality. Not the destruction of personality, destruction creates imbalance, but the taming of its excesses and the redirecting of its energy. When you observe yourself impartially, essence is strengthened. When you remember yourself, essence is fed. When you practice voluntary suffering, essence is purified. When you perform conscious labor, essence crystallizes. Every small moment of presence accumulates in a place deeper than thought or emotion. Nothing is lost. Now see one more thing. The world you live in, the marketplace of life, is itself the perfect school. The work does not require a monastery or mountain cave. Those environments have their uses, but they remove the very frictions necessary for awakening. Ordinary life, with its constant annoyances, demands, surprises, disappointments, temptations, is the ideal laboratory. It provides endless opportunities for conscious shocks, for observing reactions, for practicing divided attention, for rediscovering aim. You do not need incense or mantras or isolation. You need sincerity. You need the willingness to look directly at yourself without excuses, without despair, without vanity. You need the courage to work within life, not outside it. The fourth way is the way of waking up while doing the ordinary things, eating, speaking, walking, working, waiting, loving, failing, beginning again. No experience is too small. Every moment is raw material. Right now, consider your very next breath. Not the grand arc of your future, not some imagined transformation, just the next inhalation. Will you live it consciously or will you let it pass like smoke? This is the only real choice you ever have, to be present or absent, awake or asleep, alive or merely functioning. Try now one final time in this moment to hold a small trinity of awareness. Sense the weight of your body, feel the air entering and leaving, and see yourself hearing these E-words. If you hold this even for a second, you have accomplished something real. If it fades, begin again. Beginning again is the essence of the work. And now let us end where all serious inner work ends, not with a tidy conclusion, not with a dramatic revelation, not with a comforting promise, but with a simple, sober understanding. The work is never finished. Every moment is an invitation to wake up. Every breath is a chance. Nothing can be carried over automatically. No achievement is permanent. Presence must be earned again and again, like fire tended in the wind. There is no final enlightenment waiting at the end of a path. There is only the ongoing necessity of conscious work, never finished, always beginning. The next breath comes. Will you be here for it, or will it steal you once again? The answer must be lived now, in this very moment, and in the next, and in the next, until the last breath you ever take is lived fully awake. Not why am I like this, only I see what is. You must become like a scientist of your own inner world, but a scientist who experiments not with tools and chemicals, but with sensation, attention, exact seeing. Ordinarily, you do not see yourself. You see an image of yourself, a story, a justification. You say, I am this kind of person. I always do that. I never do this. All of it is fiction, useful for social life perhaps, but useless for awakening. Observe now how thoughts rise and fall. Do not chase them. Do not push them away. Just watch. Perhaps a thought says, this is interesting, or this is strange, or this is too long, I don't have time. See that this thought arrives without asking your permission. Did you choose it? Where was it before? Where does it go when it is replaced by another thought? Examine it as you would watch a cloud pass across the sky, impersonal, without comment. Do the same with feelings. As you listen, perhaps there is curiosity, perhaps resistance, perhaps boredom, perhaps a faint anxiety. Locate where these appear in the body. A tightness in the chest, a flutter in the stomach, a heaviness behind the eyes. Do not say, I am anxious. Say, I observe a sensation I usually call anxiety. By this small change of language, you introduce distance. What you can observe, you are not entirely identified with. You may protest, but if I am not my thoughts, not my emotions, not my posture, then who am I? Good. Let this question bite. Do not hurry to answer it. Allow it to work on you. For years you have said I as if it were something solid and continuous. Yet in 1 hour you can say, I want to get up early tomorrow. And the next morning another I says, I want to sleep more, and triumphs. Which one is the real I? You are a crowd, a shifting collection of small temporary selves, each claiming the throne, each forgotten by these umsin. So as you hear this, perform a small experiment. Silently say to yourself, I will remember myself for the next 3 breaths. Do not imagine what that means. Do it. Sense your whole body as one field of sensation, head, chest, abdomen, arms, legs, while the breath passes in and out. At the same time, hear these words. Do not let your attention collapse entirely outward or entirely inward. Divide it. 3 breaths only. 1, 2, 3. If you truly tried, you tasted something different from ordinary listening, a certain density, a subtle resistance to drifting. This is the first tiny flavor of self-remembering. Self-observation begins with seeing the machine. Self-remembering begins when the observing principle includes itself. Usually when you look at anything, you are lost in the object. If you are angry, you are entirely the anger. If you are thinking, you are entirely the thought. What we seek is a state in which you can say, not as a concept, but as a lived experience, I see anger in me, I see thinking in me, while at the same time being aware of the fact that you are seeing. Try another small shock. Become aware of the sounds around you besides this voice, distant traffic, a ticking clock, a faint hum, perhaps your own breathing. At the same time, feel the inside of your right foot. Maintain both. Do not strain, but do not relax into sleep. A subtle tension is needed, a collectedness. Now into this double awareness, very quietly affirm inwardly, I am here, not as a philosophy, as a fact. If only for a brief instant something stands in you and witnesses, already this state slips away. That is all right. The machine cannot hold it yet. It does not have the habit, the muscles, the energy. Your entire past has trained you to forget yourself, to pour your attention entirely into objects, tasks, stories, worries, fantasies. You have built no organ for divided attention. So our work begins humbly, seconds stolen back from automatic life. Notice now something simple, the movement of your chest or abdomen with the breath. Do not breathe more deeply or more slowly. Let the organism breathe itself. You watch. Can you keep this thread of sensation while also noticing the expression on your face from within? Can you see if your brow is furrowed, your eyebrows raised, your lips tightened? Add a third point, the contact of your feet with the floor or bed. 3 sensations held lightly, without strain. If even for a moment you gather them, you will feel that the usual fog thins, the room becomes more vivid. Sounds have more depth. You feel your existence more concretely. This is the beginning of waking from waking sleep. I do not speak of ecstasy, visions, or heavenly choirs. Those are for storytellers. I speak of something far more difficult, to be present in the ordinary act of sitting, listening, breathing. Heroism is not in exotic experiences. It is in the effort to be here now, amidst your most usual gestures. You may say, but I am already here. Where else would I be? Yet where were you 10 seconds ago when your mind went to some memory or worry? Where were you during the last meal you consumed with? Without tasting, where were you while walking down a familiar path, arriving with no recall of the steps? Your body was there. Your name, your documents, your obligations, they were there. But the fine, subtle awareness that can say, I am, that can witness itself in the world simultaneously, that was absent. Let us look more exactly. In you, there are at least 2 different activities of attention. One is pulled, captured by any loud stimulus, a notification, a sudden noise, an emotional trigger. The other can be directed, collected deliberately. The first is reactive, mechanical. The second is the seed of freedom. In your present state, the first dominates you almost entirely. A word, a facial expression, an inner fantasy, and your attention is gone. You are taken. Right now, your attention may be captured by some inner comment about what I am saying. This is useful. This is nonsense. This reminds me of such and such. See that comment as an object. Observe it as a passing cloud. At the same time, sense the weight of your shoulders. If you can do this even clumsily, the second activity of attention begins to awaken. We have spoken of seeing the machine, but it is not enough to stare at our own mechanism like critics in a theater. If you merely observe in order to judge, to approve, or condemn, you feed the very personality that keeps you asleep. Impartial observation is needed to see without adding good or bad, to see that you lie and not to justify it, to see that you pretend and not to hide it behind more pretending, to see that you are afraid and not to comfort yourself with stories. This is already a form of inner honesty rarely practiced. Now consider the fact that you cannot remain as you are in this moment. In a few hours, the impressions received now will fade, replaced by fresh noise. Tomorrow you may remember vaguely that you once heard something about self-remembering, and then even that will blur. Your life as you live it has a definite direction: deeper sleep, more habits, more crystallized reactions, more automatic repetition. Left alone, the machine does not become conscious. It simply becomes more fixed. So we must introduce shocks, intentional interruptions, into this smooth descent. Every conscious act of observation and self-remembering is such a shock. For example, set yourself this task: 3 times today, when you touch a door handle, use it as a bell. At the instant your fingers meet the handle, stop inwardly for 1 second. Sense your hand, both feet, your face, and hear the surrounding sounds, then pass through the door. A very small task, ridiculous even in the eyes of your vanity. Yet each time you succeed, you insert a needle of awareness into the thick fabric of your day. You will see how often you forget. You will reach for the handle, pass through, and only afterwards remember, I was supposed to wake up then. Do not be discouraged. This is excellent material for observation. You see in practice that you are not master in your own house. You make a conscious decision and the machine ignores it. Very good. The illusion of your omnipotent I begins to crack. Another experiment: as you listen now, become aware of the back of your neck. Feel whether it is tight or relaxed, warm or cool. Keep a little of your attention there like a small lamp. At the same time, notice your emotions. Is there irritation, curiosity, doubt, hope? Do not name them too much. Stay with the sensation. Add a third element, the hearing of these words: neck, feeling, tone, sound, 3 points in one field of awareness. For as long as you can, hold this configuration. When it collapses, notice that also. In these moments, something new appears, a quiet, wordless witness. It may not last long, it may be very faint, but you will recognize it as more real than the usual chatter. This witness is not an idea, it is a direct taste. You cannot persuade yourself into it, you must work. Divided attention is the key. Usually your attention is divided only accidentally. You walk and think, you eat and worry, you drive and fantasize. The division is chaotic and unconscious. We seek a deliberate division, 1 part directed outward, 1 part inward, 1 eye on the world, 1 eye on yourself. Then occasionally both eyes open at once, and you feel the simple, naked fact of being. Let us try now in a more complete way. First, sense your right hand from within, the bones, the flesh, the skin. Do not imagine, feel. Second, sense your left foot. Hold both at once, hand and foot. Third, become aware of the air entering your nostrils and leaving. Keep these 3 sensations together. Now add the sound of this voice. 4 streams of impression. A part of your attention in each, without strain but with firmness. Into this, whisper inwardly very softly, I am. Then say nothing more. No commentary, just this. If you truly attempted this for even half a minute, you met resistance. Thoughts intervened. This is too complicated, or I am doing it well, or I don't feel anything. Emotions reacted, impatience, mild anxiety, self-criticism, the body fidgeted. Excellent. All this is the material of your work. Without divided attention, these reactions would carry you away unexamined. With divided attention, you begin to see the ropes that pull the puppet. You may ask, what is the point of all this sensing and splitting attention? The point is not to become a connoisseur of sensations. The point is to gather yourself. Your attention is currently in fragments, scattered across worries, memories, fantasies. Each conscious act of divided attention collects a few of these fragments into a momentary whole. From this wholeness, real choice becomes possible. Remember the coachman: as long as he sleeps, The horses go where they will. If he begins to wake up, the first thing he must do is feel his own body on the seat, the reins in his hands, the movement of the horses. Only then can he even consider directing them. In you, the horses are your instincts and habits. The cart is your acquired personality. The road is life. To complain about where you end up without ever waking the coachman is useless. Try a simpler division now. Sense your breathing and at the same time become aware of the space behind and your head, as if your attention were also looking at you from behind. Do not strain to visualize. It is enough to feel that your awareness is not only in front of your face, pointed outward, but also slightly behind, taking you in. Breath in front, silent watcher behind. Hold this for as long as you can. Even a few seconds are valuable. You may notice an unfamiliar quiet in such moments, not a sleepy quiet, but an alert silence. Thoughts still move, but they are less convincing. Feelings still arise, but they do not define you completely. The body still has tensions, but they are seen. In this state, you are slightly more free. You are not yet awake, but you are less fully asleep. Do not wait for a grand enlightenment. Begin with these tiny awakenings. They are like matchsticks struck in a dark cave. One by one they burn out, but if you strike them often and skillfully, you will find dry wood and build a small fire. That fire is the beginning of a stable presence. It will not come by wishing or by reading. It will come by repeated, deliberate, divided attention in the midst of your ordinary life. Consider how many breaths you have taken since this talk began. How many of you truly lived? Perhaps 2, perhaps 5, perhaps none. Each unattended breath is a lost opportunity. I do not say this to create guilt. Guilt is another form of sleep. I say it to confront you with the cost of your mechanical life. Time and energy are being spent every moment. On what? On repetition, on fantasy, on imaginary conversations, on self-pity. When will you spend some of it on being? Right now, as another breath enters, make an inner decision. For this one inhalation and exhalation, I will not be absent. Sense the air at the nostrils, the expansion in the chest or abdomen, the whole body as one organism receiving life. At the same time, hear the sounds around you. For one breath, let this be enough. Then, if you wish, extend it to a second breath, a third. Do not make a heroic project. Make a simple, precise effort. Notice also how identification creeps in. You begin an exercise and immediately a voice comments, I am doing it well, or I am failing. Both are lies. Both are identifications with an image of yourself. Instead, bring your attention back to the raw data. This tension here, this warmth there, this sound, this thought. No need to decorate. You are not asked to believe anything. Belief is cheap. You are asked to see. Seeing costs. It costs vanity, imagination, cherished illusions. It costs the comfort of thinking that you are already conscious, already unified, already in control. If you are satisfied with your present state, this work is not for you. If something in you knows that you live as a sleepwalker, then use that dissatisfaction as fuel. As you go on listening, keep stealing little moments of divided attention. When I say hand, feel your hand. When I say face, feel your face. When I say breath, feel your breath. Let the words become reminders, not content. The danger is that you will turn all of this into another theory to discuss, another set of ideas to play with. The work is not an entertainment for the intellect. It is a struggle to be. Right now, without changing your posture, become aware of how you are holding your shoulders. Are they lifted, collapsed, twisted? Feel the exact shape in space. At the same time, notice your emotional tone in this instant, perhaps subtle frustration, perhaps calm, perhaps doubt. Finally, listen to these words as if they were directed not at your mind, but at the whole of you. 3 streams again: body, feeling, sound. Stay with them. If you lose the thread, which you will, return again and again. This returning is itself a form of self-remembering. You remember that you forgot. Good. In that moment of realizing I was absent, you are briefly present. If you then say, I am hopeless, I can never do this, you fall asleep again. If instead you simply resume the work, you deepen the groove of awakening. A time will come If you persist, when divided attention appears spontaneously in certain moments of your day, you will suddenly find yourself simultaneously aware of your body and the scene around you without deliberate effort. Do not cling to it. Do not boast inwardly. Quietly cooperate. Strengthen it by adding a little more clarity. Sense your feet, your hands, your breath. Let the I am be implied, not shouted. For now, it is enough that you have seen a little of your condition. The automatic breath, the unchosen thoughts, the flood of small eyes, the difficulty of holding even two sensations at once. Do not turn away from this. It is not cause for despair. It is the first honest map of where you begin. A man lost in a forest cannot escape by imagining himself already at home. He must first admit, I am lost. So let one more experiment close this part of our work together. Sit as you are. Let the body for a moment be still. Sense the outline of your whole form, head, torso, arms, hands, pelvis, legs, feet. Fill this outline with your attention as if pouring a fine liquid into a mold. At the same time, open to the sounds around you. Do not select. Let them all come in. And very quietly, in the background of these impressions, allow a simple recognition. There is awareness of all this. Not the phrase, but the fact. You will not hold it long. The next thought, the next itch, the next worry will take you. But you have touched something. Before the next breath steals you again, remember that you can, at any instant, turn a portion of your scattered attention back toward yourself. This is your one real possibility, to wake up not tomorrow, not in some imagined future, but in the next breath that you are willing to live consciously. Up to now, you have worked mostly with attention and sensation, seeing a little of how you drift and how difficult it is to stay, but you are not a simple creature. Inside you are different instruments, different centers, each with its own speed, its own hunger, its own language. You suffer greatly because these instruments are out of tune with each other. One says yes, another says no, a third does something entirely unrelated. You call the resulting confusion myself. There is in you an intellectual center. It deals in ideas, images, words, comparisons. It is quick but shallow. It can explain anything and understand almost nothing. There is an emotional center. It responds with like and dislike, fear and attraction, joy and despair. It is faster than thought, more intense, more contagious. There is a moving instinctive center. It runs the body, posture, habits, reflexes, breathing, circulation, digestion. It is deep, old, and mostly silent until something goes wrong. These three centers rarely agree. You say, I want to change my life, but that is usually the intellectual center talking. The emotional center remains tied to familiar pleasures and pains. The moving center continues its old habits as if nothing has been said. Right now, we will begin to taste directly these three streams. First, bring your attention gently to your head area, the forehead, scalp, temples, eyes, not with imagination, but with sensation. Feel whatever is there, pressure, buzzing, warmth, emptiness. Stay there for a few seconds. This is not the intellectual center itself, but the physical aspect related to it. Next, shift to the region of your chest, heart area, ribs, upper back. Sense any movement, tightness, openness, weight. Then drop into the region of your abdomen and lower body, stomach, hips, pelvis, thighs. Again, feel what is actually there. Now see if you can include all three zones at once, head, chest, belly, one field, three notes. In this simple exercise, you may notice that one area is more vivid than the others. Perhaps the head buzzes with restless activity, while the chest feels numb. Perhaps the chest is full of unprocessed feeling, while the head feels dull. Perhaps the lower body is almost absent from awareness. This shows you something. You are not balanced. One center dominates, another is neglected, a third is almost mute. No wonder your efforts are inconsistent. Think of a three-horse carriage. If one horse is overfed and wild, another is starved and weak, and the third is half asleep, the carriage will lurch and zigzag along the road. This is how you live. Sometimes the intellectual horse drags you into endless speculation and doubt. Sometimes the emotional horse bolts into anxiety or excitement. Sometimes the moving, instinctive horse plods on in blind habit. You think, I decided. In reality, whichever horse was strongest at the moment chose the direction. Try now to sense not just the body zones, but the different messages they carry. In the head, perhaps you hear a commentary, I am doing the exercise, this is useful, this is strange. In the chest, perhaps there is a quiet ache or impatience or a subtle hope. In the belly and legs, perhaps there is heaviness, inertia, or a faint sense of grounding. Do not analyze, just see. These three speak at once, often contradicting each other. You eat something you know is not good for you. The intellectual center says, I should stop eating this. The emotional center delights in the taste or uses the food to soothe an inner discomfort. The moving center, trained by repetition, continues to bring hand to mouth. Who wins? Usually the trained horse, the moving instinctive. Taste how little power your thogum. HTS have over deeply ingrained movements. Notice how little your occasional emotional guilt changes your repeated actions. Until the three centers begin to communicate and support each other, your decisions will remain fantasies. Right now, become aware of your breath again, but this time with a twist. As you inhale, place a small portion of attention in the head area. As you exhale, shift a portion to the chest. On the next inhale, drop attention into the belly. On the next exhale, try to feel all three at once. Continue this for a few cycles. Breath moving, attention rotating among centers. Do not force. Let it be like gently turning a lamp to illuminate different parts of a room. As you do this, watch how quickly the intellect wants to take over. What is this for? Am I doing it right? Notice also any emotional reaction, annoyance, curiosity, relief. Notice how the body responds, fidgeting, resistance, relaxation. You are observing the conversation among centers. You are not yet the master, but you are no longer entirely a prisoner. The aim is not to worship balance as a new ideal. The aim is to create conditions in which a new quality can appear, a quality that uses all three centers together. When the mind sees clearly, the heart feels rightly, and the body cooperates, something finer is born in their meeting. You may have glimpsed this in rare moments when you acted with complete conviction, understanding, feeling, and movement aligned. Those are hints of what is possible. To move toward this, you will need to be more precise with yourself. During the coming day, notice three kinds of events. First, notice when your head races ahead without the support of feeling or body, endless plans, fantasies, arguments in your imagination. Second, notice when your emotions drag you into storms while your understanding is dim and your body posture collapses. Third, notice when your body acts automatically, snacking, scrolling, pacing, while neither thought nor feeling are really present. Do not condemn. Collect data. You are learning the language of your own instrument. Observe now, in this very moment, which center is most active. Are you mainly thinking about these ideas? Are you mainly feeling something about them? Are you mainly sensing your bodily state? Try to name quietly, now thinking dominates, or now feeling dominates, or now moving dominates. Then deliberately invite the others. If you are mostly in the head, deepen sensation in the body and become curious about your emotional tone. If you are mostly in feeling, add clear observation of thoughts and clarify bodily posture. If you are mostly in movement, bring in precise thought and a finer, more discriminating feeling. This is conscious balancing. When the centers come into a certain temporary harmony, another organ begins to stir, real conscience. Not the conscience you were taught in childhood, which is mostly a collection of fears and borrowed rules, but a deeper sense, an organ of direct knowing. It speaks very softly. Most of the time it is drowned in noise, but when the noise diminishes, you can sometimes hear it, and what it says is often very uncomfortable. You are accustomed to thinking of conscience as that nagging voice that says, you should be nicer, you should work harder, you should do what people expect. This is not conscience. That is conditioning, internalized voices from parents, school, culture. They say good boy, bad girl, success, failure, based on standards that have little to do with awakening. Real conscience is different. It does not flatter and it does not threaten. It simply shows you in a single flash the distance between what you are and what you could be. Have you ever had a moment when you saw without anyone telling you that you had lied to someone you love. Not just the outer lie, but the inner falseness that extended through many of your actions. A moment when you saw how often you pretend, how often you use others for your own vanity or comfort. In such moments, there is usually a physical sensation. Something tightens in the chest or stomach, a kind of burn. This is a small taste of remorse of conscience. It is not the same as guilt